The Gettysburg Address. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Well, that was the Revolutionary War, right? Now we're engaged in another great war. As it says, now we're engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. Can we really live up and endure living by this principle that all men are created equal? Isn't this what Abraham Lincoln was saying? Can the country now endure? This is what all the bloodshed was on the battlefield. Hundreds, thousands of people died for the idea that all men were created equal. So, now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those here who gave their lives, or those who here gave their lives, that that nation may live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. So, what nation was going to live? What did Lincoln talk about? Did he really mean all men? Yes. So, he wanted to emancipate the slaves because he wanted this country to live up to the standard that they laid down and endure with the ideas that all men were created equal, which means that this is a good country with good ideals, and that many people died on that battlefield. And this is what Lincoln is saying. Can such a country long endure? A great battlefield of that war, we have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place. But that's not good enough. It's altogether fitting, but he says, but in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate. We cannot consecrate. We cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, that fought this battle. That's what he's talking about. In a larger sense, we cannot hallow. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here. Little did he know that the Gettysburg Address is the most famous speech there is. But he was saying, the world will little note nor long remember, and they should remember, and this is why I'm reading this. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far nobly advanced. They were fighting a war. The war wasn't over yet. And they were fighting for the cause of making this country live up to its standard. This was what was said in the Gettysburg Address. The unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far nobly advanced, it is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. They're dying for the principle of all men are created equal, living up to their creed. Read the speech. That from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. The cause goes on. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. That this nation under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, a new birth, a rebirth of freedom. So we had freedom and we had to live up to it, and we paid an awful price for it. And now a new freedom, a freedom that had never been seen before, because that idea of freeing the slaves, the emancipation of the slaves and the abolitionist movement had got to the point where in this country we actually gave people their God-given right to be free in this country, and freedom means something to this country, which makes this country a good country. Not a bad country, a good country. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, all lives matter, all men are created equal. This is what it's saying. It's not discriminating. That this nation under God shall have the new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. But they want to take it away. These communists who come into our country under the guise of BLM, these people who are actually rich white people who are New World Order Marxists, want to take our freedom away and put us under what they're practicing in communist China today. Marxism. Do you think those people are free? They're the most oppressed people in the earth. There's no freedom of religion there. Children are being exploited. People's freedom is completely taken away. And now Hong Kong was taken over by China, and Chinese ideas want to rewrite our history. Yes, that's right. Howard Zinn rewrote our history. You know he was a communist? Howard Zinn, who wrote our history books for our kids, was a communist. What's her name? Cooper, not Alice. The writer of the 1612 Project, guess what? Marxist. So trying to demonize this country and tear down statues, which is what Marxists do, to rewrite history, is exactly how they brainwashed everybody to hate our history and pull down our statues. They didn't even have to do it. We did it for them. They're trying to destroy the freedom that our forefathers died for. Thank you.